Many of you would have played the game called Chinese Whispers during your childhood. For those of you who are not aware of what Chinese Whispers is all about, Chinese Whispers is a group game whereby one participant communicates a certain sentence into the ear of the second participant, and the second participant tries to communicate the same sentence to the ear of the third participant, and the process continues. And the person who finally receives the message, he or she needs to communicate the sentence which has been conveyed into his or her ear. So since the process of communication happens ear to ear from one participant to the other, so there is going to be a great level of distortion during the process of communication. And as a result, the actual sentence which is communicated from the first person to the second and what the final person utters or mentions are at two ends of the pole. There is a huge difference, and that makes the game interesting. However, that's a game. The reality is, in day-to-day communication, there are many a times that Chinese whispers manifests itself. We would have come across, or many a times we ourselves would have faced, that a certain point is communicated to us. However, we interpret something else, and when we go to execute it, it's something else which is executed or implemented. This is a major roadblock or an issue pertaining to communication. It's a major gap when it comes to understanding as to what is being communicated to us and what we understand about it and what we implement out of it. So how do we overcome this particular challenge of the communicator or the person who's speaking to us is mentioning something, and unfortunately we interpret it as something else. We don't even seek to confirm, and we go ahead and execute something which is contrary to the expectation of that particular person who communicates to us, who could be a boss, a senior colleague, or even a family member. So I would share with you three vital inputs whereby you can try to close this gap pertaining to this issue, pertaining to the communication gap when it comes to imbibing or understanding what is actually being communicated to us. The first point is, whenever someone is speaking to us, we need to have full focus. We need to try to understand deeply. Many a times we may get distracted. However, we need to be focused. We need to control our thoughts. And when we are in the communication process, namely listening, we need to pay full attention without getting distracted. The second point is, as much as possible, try to take brief notes, especially when it comes to professional or business or workplace communication. When our boss or someone is communicating certain points to us, please write it down in a notepad or a diary. Many a times I've observed that a lot of folks do not like taking notes. A lot of people are reliant on their memory and possibly are really confident that they can recollect all the points which are communicated to them. Unfortunately, that may not be the reality. Human memory has its own limitations, and many a times we may actually forget, especially with the kind of multitasking that we are engaged in pertaining to our day-to-day workplace life. So it's always safe to write down points in a notepad or diary and maintain it with us so that we can refer it. And what happens as a result is we may not skip or end up missing out on certain important points which have been communicated to us. So this is extremely vital, and regardless of whether you like it or not, I would urge each of you to please write down certain brief vital points whenever you're in a meeting or important discussion, because you can't rely just on your memory. The last, however not least point is, during the communication process, when any points are communicated to you, what you need to do towards the end is summarize on what you have understood. So when the communicator and you have completed the discussion, it's always going to be good that you summarize the points that were communicated to you and in a brief manner position your understanding. When you do that, What you can verify is whether your understanding of the points communicated is accurate and as per the expectation of the person communicating to you. Otherwise, it happens just like the game of Chinese whispers that I mentioned, where something is actually being communicated and the end result is something else. So, summarizing the points, trying to position your understanding or communicate your understanding to the person who has communicated these vital points is going to be imperative. And when you do that, in case there is some deviation in terms of what you have understood and what is actually being communicated to you, you can take immediate course correction and you don't have to wait till you actually go ahead and make an error. So, in case you follow these 3 points, you can close this gap pertaining to what is being communicated to you and what you understand and implement. It would save you a lot of time and effort as well as a lot of possible embarrassment, and it would ensure that everyone, including your boss, is happy at the workplace because you are doing exactly what is expected of you. So, all the very best in ensuring that you're able to overcome all the barriers in communication. Thank you very much for your time.